Hey, friends. If you've been loving the conversations we have here on the All in My Head podcast, and you're looking for a way to ground your thoughts, reflect more deeply, or just make space for yourself in the chaos, I've created something for you. My very own journals are now available on Amazon. Whether it's the gratitude journal to help you focus on the good, especially on the hard days, or the Mind Unwind Journal, a space to release, reset, and realign. These were made with you in mind, my thoughtful, deep feeling, always reflecting listeners. Just head to Amazon and search Gratitude, Mind Unwind Journal, or my name, Jenny Jimenez-Sullivan, or check the link in the show notes to grab your copy. It's simple, intentional, and ready to meet you wherever you are. Listen to the All in My Head podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Please, allow me to show you something.
Welcome back to the All in My Head podcast. I'm Jenny, and I am your host. And you have landed here today for episode 24 of season 2. And it is called Let Me Love You: How to Receive More Than You Give. And I am joined here today with Heather Edwards, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the lovely Heather. Heather is a Myrtle Beach native, which is a rare breed. At the age of 8, she was diagnosed with a visual impairment called cone dystrophy that has allowed her to become legally blind. However, she is a thriving, independent individual who is deeply involved and connected to her local community. She is the South Carolina chapter of the Foundation for Fighting Blindness, helping others who are visually impaired to find community and resources. Nonprofits are close to her heart, as they are to me, and you can find her volunteering for various local nonprofits or working her full-time job of finance manager for a national nonprofit, remotely from the comfort of her home. She also is deeply connected in the local spiritual community. She teaches yoga and has recently become certified in adaptive yoga, which I'm super excited about, so that she can fulfill her dream of making that practice accessible to everyone. She is on a life journey of healing and limiting beliefs that were instilled in her at a young age by creating her own narrative and reality about who she is and what she is capable of. And I met Heather at a local festival, which is coming up again this fall because we're doing it 2 times a year. And I was standing talking to someone who's part of my writing group. And she was standing there while we chatted, and she just was like, "Excuse me, but are you Jenny from the podcast?" And I was quite literally shocked. I was like, "Yes, I am." And I do know people in the community who know about my podcast, but it was very interesting to have someone who you have not met say, "Are you Jenny from the podcast?" And afterwards, after speaking to her, I just felt kind of cool after that because I was like, wow, someone has listened to my podcast, and her friend would kind of take that podcast, listen to it, and then decompress and they're walking and kind of share their thoughts about it and their own kind of personal experiences. So since then, we have become good friends, and I'm so grateful that we have. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Jenny. This feels like a very full circle moment. And I initially heard about you from Leah, who was on with the Alchemy of Sister Circles. And that was such a beautiful conversation. I think I listened to it like 3 or 4 times. And one of my talents, I would say, is recognizing voices. I just really pay attention to people's voices. And you have such a distinct and beautiful voice that literally lives in my head with my headphones when I'm listening to the podcast. So quite literally all in my head. Yes. And so I immediately knew who you were even before I asked. But yes, it has been so nice to get to know you over the past couple months. And so cool that we met the way that we did.
Definitely. And we have since met a few times and had coffee or had lunch together. But we have talked in the past about what could we do as a podcast episode. And we both had some individual ideas. But then this title is called Let Me Love You. And Heather and I were both on a Zoom through her Sacred Circle, a monthly group that meets on Zoom called Anchored In. And we were doing our personal shares. And Heather said something to the effect about, and we'll get into it, a situation. And she was like, said that this person said to her, let me love you. And then someone else came over the Zoom and said, you have to receive more than you give, right? Because she's a giver and I'm a giver. We're empaths. We have that like nurturing heart. But so I literally said, this is a podcast episode as we were on our Zoom.
So it was born.
It was born right there. And everyone was like, yes, it is. And Leah, was like, yes, do it. So that's kind of how that came to be. But the title, Let Me Love You, is, both beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, if you think about it. So what does that phrase mean to you? And basically, maybe if you want to talk about, if you feel comfortable talking about how that came to be.
Sure. So I feel like I'm turning 35 in December, and I feel like as I'm nearing my mid 30s, I have been on this, as I feel like we continue throughout our life to be on this journey of self-discovery and healing. And what does love mean to me? What does love look like to me? I recently, or I guess a year and a half ago, exited a 4.5-year relationship, and it gave me space to really begin to love myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started taking better care of myself and really doing the things that I really loved doing that maybe I had compromised a bit during that relationship. And so I feel like the past year and a half, I've literally been on a love journey with myself, like writing my own love story with Heather. And I love that so much. I still love myself every day, just waking up like, wow, I can't believe I'm the person that I am. And I'm so grateful that I am who I am, and I continuing to love myself every day and explore what that looks like for me. And they always say that this happens, and I never believed it. But here I am, just minding my own business, infatuated with myself.
Good for you.
Exactly. And I had someone from my past come back into my life. And this was a person that I have dated before. And we were different people when we dated. I was in my mid-20s. And to be totally open and honest, I've never really talked about it before, but I was an alcoholic. And I would self-medicate with alcohol. And it just seemed like it was the natural way to move through life. I get off work, I go have a drink. You go to happy hour, you go on a date, you go see girlfriends. Like everything tended to revolve around that. And so now that alcohol is no longer a part of my life, and no longer really a part of his as much anymore, I just feel like that has been a catalyst for this change in us. And other things as well, like meditation and yoga and self-care. But to me, the one thing that stood out was the alcohol. And so whenever we reconnected, we were re-exploring our friendship and what that would look like. And I have always been a person who puts up walls.
Right.
I put up walls. I push people away because I'm scared of being seen. I'm scared to be a burden for somebody else with my visual impairment.
Right.
I'm just scared. I'm a very scared person, and I'm learning to work through that. But here we go again. I thought I wasn't scared anymore, and boom, life put this in front of me, and I'm scared again.
Right.
So we were having a conversation one day about what this would look like if it would progress into something more than friendship. And I said, I made every excuse in the book. Well, I'm busy. I have a full-time job. I volunteer. I teach yoga. My laundry list of things that I do, and I didn't want to lose that love that I had cultivated with myself and compromise that again for someone. So that conversation, he let me say all the things that I needed to say.
Right.
And then he said, "Who's asking you to change?"
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, I guess me. I guess that's in my head, right? That I need to change to be able to be with someone in a capacity."
Right.
And he said, "Just let me love you."
Mm.
And I have not stopped hearing that in my head since it's been almost 2 months now. And I
Right.
have not stopped hearing that on repeat in my head various times throughout the day whenever I feel like I begin to put those walls up, or I begin to create those barriers, or I begin to tell myself a story about like, oh, this can't work because XYZ, and all the things that could happen but
Right.
haven't happened. Like, why am I focusing on the imaginary things that could happen? Why am
Exactly.
I creating scenarios in my head that haven't happened yet? And why can't I sit back and relax into love?
Right. And I think that that's like, we've talked about this, but we both come from some trauma, right?
Mhm.
So why do you think that like so many of us struggle with receiving love or help
Mm.
or generosity? We're great givers, and
Oh,
people
I'm
tell
the
me that
best
all the
giver.
time. I am the best giver. I have given to the point of complete depletion and exhaustion.
Yes.
But the asking for help, and not even the
Mm.
asking, just the receiving. Sometimes
Yes.
people just want to give and they
Yeah.
don't want anything in return. And that's something I wasn't used to either. But why do you
Yes.
think so many of us struggle with that? Maybe in your own personal experience.
Mm. For me personally, I like you said, I was diagnosed at the age of 8 with a visual
Mhm.
impairment, and I've been legally blind since then. And it is a condition that does tend to get worse over time. And
Right.
maybe not even worse, but different. It
Right.
progresses in a certain way. I deliberately used the word allow when I
Mhm.
wrote that bio for you. It allows me to be legally blind and not causes me or loss of vision, or
I
I've tried
loved
to be
that.
way more intentional with my words because I was in such a victim mentality state
Right.
throughout the first part of my life that I can't live there anymore. And I think that that's one of the things that caused me to be able to not receive is I am the victim and I'm not worthy of receiving this. I don't deserve
Right.
this, People try and help me or they try and find solutions to things and I'm like, "No, just let me be, just let me wallow in my sorrow and let
Right.
me fetishize my own sadness and my
Mhm.
own um problems and the state that I'm in." And I did. I lived there for a long time, and
Right.
let me tell you, it's not a good place to be. It felt
No.
comfortable though. I
Mhm.
was so comfortable
Well, it's so
in my
normalized.
sadness.
Yeah.
Yes, it felt normal. And so it almost felt wrong to be happy when
Right.
something so and not even detrimental, but the the way that people would treat me and the way that people would talk about me, it felt detrimental to me.
Right.
I
Right.
was fine for the most part. I mean, it was a blow to not be able to drive when all my
Sure.
friends were getting their license, and still to this day, I can have my days where I get a little frustrated that I
Sure.
can't go do something that I want to do because I can't drive. But in the end, I really feel like what I was doing was taking the perspective of what other people thought my life was like, and I was letting that dictate how I felt about my
Right.
life rather
Right.
than making choices for myself and choosing my own words and choosing how I wanted to feel in that moment. And I think that that in itself made me feel so unworthy because the way people would talk about me. I
Exactly.
was a charity case, or I was a burden, or I
Right.
was different and I had to be accommodated, which, like, oh my gosh, we have to turn off a set of lights, or we have to make something large print, or
Right.
things that seem so silly now that I know that I deserve.
Exactly.
But I didn't know that back then. And
Right.
it
And
just made
again, because it was
everything
normal.
exactly. It
It was
made everything
normalized.
so much harder for me whenever I fought that.
And even when,
And
we talked about even like in our trauma, like I would have never even called my life traumatic in any way. I wouldn't have
Right.
said the things that I went through growing up were trauma because it was normal. It was normal. It was also put into my head that it was in my head. Like it wasn't that big
Mm-hmm.
of a deal, that I'm being super sensitive. That's just who I am. But also that part of being or being told that you're kind of not the norm in your
Mm-hmm.
family, that you're kind of the odd man out, that you're the one who, caused trauma in your own way to these adult people who take care of you. So for me, it wasn't until as I had children, I knew that things were different. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that the love that I gave them and the way that I was with them and felt about them was very different than how I grew up. So then I started to make that connection, but still, it wasn't until my 40s that I was like, wait a minute, like there is something very wrong. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not normal, and that's when these terms generational trauma and the healing journey and inner child wound and all these things, I started doing these deep delves. But when you're in it, and it's part of your everyday and it's part of your life and it's part of your family, you're just, you feel sadness, but you don't know that it's not normal.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
don't know until you know. You don't know until you
Exactly.
know. Right.
Until you wake up.
Right.
Until you wake up one day and you realize that it, yes, it can. And something I try to be careful about too is I don't want to dismiss it. I want to hold on to it to an extent. I want it to, because it is a part of
Mhm.
how I got to where I'm at and who I am and what
Right.
makes me such an empath and such a healer and such a sounding board for other people, and to be able to help other people who are in these situations. Like for instance, when I was diagnosed at 8, it was like, okay, you have this thing,
Mhm.
goodbye. That's what the
Mhm.
doctors pretty much told me. You're going to go blind at 8. And at some point in your life, this will progress and you will lose all your vision.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there on the ride home, just, I mean, my parents are having their own conversation, and I can picture this just like it was yesterday. I'm in the
Mm.
back seat. We're driving back from Duke Medical University for our second opinion because we needed a second opinion after the first. And I hear my parents talking about, from a parent's perspective, like, what are we going to do? What are the things we can do? How do we solve for this? How can we support her?
Right.
And I love them for that. But me in the back, I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like,
You're 8.
I might as well just give up.
Right.
Like, I'm
Right.
just
You're
going to
8
give up
years
right
old.
now.
Yeah.
And so there was no follow up. There was no
Right.
resources. There was no community. There was
Right.
no meeting other people who were in the same situation as me.
Mhm.
I don't think I really met another person who had my condition until I was 25.
Mm.
And that is wild to me. And I met other people who were around my age when I did some internships through the South Carolina Commission of the Blind. And I'm so grateful that they allowed me to peek into this world
Right.
of the visual impairment community. And now I'm just fully immersed. Like the people find me.
Mhm.
I put myself out there with the foundation, and I raise awareness by hosting different events or different fundraisers and being at different nonprofit expos through the chamber, and just really trying to get visibility out there so that people know that, one, this is a thing. Because when you are fully sighted, I can only imagine that this is the furthest thing from your mind, that
Right.
there are people out there who are not seeing like you're seeing.
Exactly.
And so I have really dedicated a large portion of my life to making sure that people don't feel alone. I don't want people to feel alone. If they want to be alone, that is a choice.
Right.
But I want people to have the option to have community and have support and have resources. And I feel like maybe if I can provide that for people, they can then begin to realize that they are not the burden and they are worthy of love just
Right.
as they are. And
Right.
that's the other thing, is just as I am. For so long I was like, I need to change. I need to
Mm-hmm.
overcompensate. I need to do this
Always.
because I can't do this. And if I can't, if my friend has to give me a ride, then this time I see them, I need to do this thing. And it felt
Absolutely.
very transactional. Like all my relationships early on in life felt so transactional because of that. And I never knew what it was like to just receive.
And I
And
think that's so important to say again, because when you've been in situations, whether it's you're going through this visual impairment and it's life-changing situation, or you're dealing with trauma in whatever way, you don't feel worthy and you feel like you have to give more because you're receiving anything, or sometimes you're not receiving anything
mhm,
and you're feeling like I need to give more and more and more and more because the more that I prove myself, the more this person will love me. So I
yes.
think that that's important to say, but that goes to the question of how, well, no, let's say, do you feel now in this moment worthy of receiving as much as you give?
Oh, 100%. I would even say I feel worthy of receiving more than I give at this point.
That's
And
the part.
I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel bad about that at all. I feel that and I think that there is this narrative with women especially
Mhm.
because we are nurturers and we are caregivers, and no, I don't have children and I don't have a nuclear family with a
Mhm.
husband at this point, but I'm still a caregiver. Like
Mhm.
all my girlfriends, all my friends will tell you, I am the caregiver. I
Mhm.
will make sure everyone's ready for the event. I will message people about things that they told me a week ago and check back in on them. Like that's
Right.
just who I am. And so I have let go of the idea that that is what makes me worthy. It's just
Mhm.
something that I like to do because I
Right.
like when people do that for me.
Right.
So at this point, it feels very reciprocal with
Mhm.
a lot of my relationships. And the relationships where I didn't feel that way anymore, they're gone. They're
Exactly.
gone. I don't need those relationships in my life. If someone makes a slight about how I treat them
Mm.
or how I can't do something or how they have to support me in a certain way that burdens them or puts them out of their
That's not
way,
someone you need
you
in
know
your life.
what? That's fine. Then I don't need your support. That's
Right.
fine. I can figure it out for myself. And there are so many people out there who are willing and more than willing to give me that love and
Right.
just being who I am. I even got a text from a girlfriend yesterday. We were talking about just nothing, life.
Yeah.
And she said, "It is so easy to love you."
Mm.
Oh, it makes me want to cry.
Isn't
It's
that
just,
amazing though? Like
it's
when you
so
do the work
beautiful.
on yourself that you see that like it was never me.
It was never me.
I always used to think, and I went through so much of my life feeling like I wasn't enough, right? I wasn't a good enough daughter. I wasn't a good
Mhm.
enough sister. And that bled into my relationships with friends. I'm not a good enough friend if I'm not doing and constantly depleting myself to the point of there's nothing left for me. And when you finally do that work on yourself and you're like you said, you were all wrapped in your self-love, like I love myself, so I'm
Yep.
good and I'm here loving myself and whatever happens happens, but I know my worth. Yeah, those relationships that were really tearing you apart fall off and you're just like, don't need that, don't want that. But the ones that stay are just the best. Or the new ones. Like I'm 52 making new relationships here in Myrtle
Yeah.
Beach and new friendships that I'm just like, wow, like I love my core group of friends that I've left behind in Connecticut. And I have some of them super tight and close to me. But the friendships and the connections that I've made in this community are amazing. And I'm so grateful for that. So like
Mhm.
I could cry when you said like she said, "You're so easy to love," because I get that. I
Yes.
already know that about you in just the short time. So,
Thank you.
you
And I
know,
feel the same way about you as well.
thanks.
I think that another thing too is like letting go of this idea of what friendships have to look like or
Right.
relationships in general have to look like. You know, I think we are so influenced by, again, other people and
Mhm.
other people's experiences or what they want or what the movies or the books tell us. And like, those are great. I mean, they're fun to live in
Right.
those worlds for a while, but you need to visit them and pull yourself back out. They are
Right.
not defining how anything should look for you. And that was another thing I was just so influenced when I was younger. I was so I just didn't have my own opinions about
Right.
anything. I felt like if one day I was being pulled over here, that's my favorite thing. And then another
Mhm.
day I was being pulled over here, and now that's my favorite thing. And
Right.
I didn't know who I was or have an
Right.
identity rather.
Mhm.
And so letting go of this idea that a relationship or a friendship has to look a certain way or feel a certain way even, or that things have to happen within those relationships, like, who says? Who
Right.
says that? Who says that at all? If
Right.
you feel loved and you feel supported in whatever way that is for you, if
Mhm.
that's monetarily, that's great. That suits you. If that's love, like unconditional love, I think
Mhm.
that should be a non negotiable for people,
Right.
but
Yep.
not all of us feel that way.
Not
So,
everybody gets it. Right.
yeah, not everybody is lucky enough to receive that
That's
either.
right. That's
And
that's the
so
truth.
it's finding what works for you and letting go of what other people think. And that is so hard. It's so hard to let go of what other people think. And especially from a young age for me, like when I knew we were going to do this podcast, the first story that came up for me was I was in second grade and I was in physical education class and we were going to play dodgeball.
Mm.
And I vocalized
I
to
hate dodgeball, by the
I
way.
hate dodgeball.
I hate dodgeball. I
Why?
always have.
Why is that enjoyable
Why
for
do we
anybody?
throw balls at people and as hard as we can? But that's
It's
another
so
podcast
aggressive.
episode. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we
It's
were
just a form
going
of bullying, is what if you
It
ask me. But
is.
that's yeah,
And you're already segueing into the whole point of the story. It was a form of bullying.
for
And
sure.
it's so funny how like that particular activity led to this bullying comment
Mm.
because any teacher who I think is facilitating dodgeball in the first place, and mind you, this was back in
Sure.
whatever, 1996 or 7.
Yeah.
So different times and we didn't
Totally.
know better back then. But this teacher, whenever I vocalized that I didn't want to play because I couldn't see to dodge the ball, I would literally probably get smacked in the face first person.
Yeah.
He said, well, why are you even in this class? Why are
Mm.
you even in physical education? You're
Mm.
never going to be able to be physically active
Mm.
because you can't see.
Mm. Oh, if
And
that teacher could see you now.
oh boy, I wish I could find that teacher. I
Ooh.
really wish I could.
I'm a great detective, so if you want to give me the name after this podcast, I will do a deep dive.
I'll think about that. I'm feeling really like vindictive one day, maybe.
That's my my friend, yeah, just feeling very protective and
Yes,
yeah, but
yes.
yeah, that's
And
me. Yeah.
thankfully, I did have a friend in that class. I grew up on a street full of boys,
Mm.
and which was great for me because I always had someone looking out for me.
Yeah.
And so he said, "You don't get to talk to her like that.
Good.
Like you, I mean, I think he called him a curse word in second grade,
Good.
but he was,
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I also, yes, that comment, like I internalized it for such a long time. Like
Right.
I didn't think I could be physically active in any type of sport. I ended up being a bit overweight in my middle school and high school years because of that comment,
Mhm.
because I didn't think I could do
Of course.
anything. And I also realize now in my older age that he just didn't know better. He really was just ignorant. And he
Absolutely.
had probably never had a student who had a visual impairment and
Correct.
didn't know what to say. And it
Right.
was probably some kind of internal reflection of him that maybe something happened to him when he was younger
Right.
and he needed to project that on me. And I
Right.
was just a sounding board.
Right.
So I've since forgiven him as much as I possibly can.
Sure.
And also, in a way, like thanked him because he
Right.
fueled a fire in me. And it was the thing that actually sparked me to try yoga in the first place,
Right.
was this idea that, oh, you think I can't be physically active because I can't see? Guess where you don't have to see? Yoga.
Exactly. Right.
You don't have to. Yes, maybe when you're first learning the poses, you need a teacher to help you with your alignment,
Sure.
and you need to kind of be able to see a person in that pose. But I can be at the front of a class.
Absolutely.
I'm not scared to ask for help. I can come home and Google what that looks like and then
Mhm.
feel that more into my body. And I deliberately seek out teachers who are very cue heavy, and
Right.
I feel like I can do the class with my eyes closed. And those are the teachers that I continue to go to.
And that's the thing about when you go through a traumatic situation. And I look back on my writing and my journaling and the book that I'm working on and all the things, this podcast and all the things that have come out of the trauma that I dealt with growing up, that I look at it as an empowerment now, right? It's
Yes.
so
Yes.
empowering to take those situations when you've healed or are healing and have done the work and are doing the work to be able to say, well, wait a minute, I'm not the only person who's gone through this. So let me
Exactly.
use that to empower myself and then be able to empower others. So like
Exactly.
kudos to you for doing that as well,
Well,
because
thanks.
it's not easy work that we do. But um let me jump into the question of, how do you, because we've talked about this,
Hmm.
how do you distinguish between generosity that comes from love and giving that comes from fear and obligation, right? Like I felt
Ooh.
and have felt that in my own personal relationships, that when somebody gave something back to me, I always felt like there was this undertone of like,
Hmm.
now you owe me something, right? Because that's the trauma that I have
Hmm.
personally, that if it wasn't a give and take per se. So how do you distinguish between that now?
I almost feel like it's a personal perception
Hmm.
at this point. It is really difficult to know the intention of others at any given time, unless
Right.
they are very verbal about their intentions, or you've had past interactions with this
Hmm.
person, and you know that it is a bit more transactional, like I
Right.
was mentioning in the beginning. So I think that it's almost like if someone is doing something for you, you can perceive that as coming from love,
Right.
even if that is not their intention. And you can almost alchemize that,
Hmm.
like it leaves their person
Hmm.
as a gift or an act or something, and you then get to receive it in whatever way that you want to receive it in.
Right.
And whether that is coming from a place of obligation because you feel like you are indebted to that person, or you
Hmm.
have shame or guilt around whatever is happening in that relationship, I think it comes from you. I don't
Right.
think that you can ever truly know the intention of someone else
Right.
unless you have that clear communication with that person. And even then, you can't know the inner workings of someone else. So I think that once you begin to get or move through your shame
Right.
and your guilt and your grief of your trauma and whatever you are going through or
Hmm.
have gone through,
Right.
I think that then everything can come from a place of love.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. We've been in these spaces where it was hard to distinguish love with
Yes.
approval, right?
Yes.
Those two kind of went hand in hand for a very long time with me. And I don't think it
Oof,
was until I
same.
started having children and then in my own personal relationship with my husband, and then kind of seeing like friendships for that. You kind of
Mhm.
get really good at distinguishing it after a while, but in the beginning they look the same.
They do. They do. It's almost like the wolf in sheep's clothing,
Mm,
You
yes.
have to be able to have your own, what's the word I'm looking for? Like your own discretion. You have to
Yeah.
use your own discretion here. And and again, like if something I've really come to and I'm coming back to that topic, but something I've
Hmm.
really started to think about lately as I have been noticing changes in my vision, not that I'm or trying to accept those changes. I have begun to think about how everything around me is a reflection of what's inside me. And so when I was operating from a place of shame and a place of guilt, everything around me felt that way. So
Absolutely.
I
You
think
attract it.
whenever you are still holding on to those things, and again, not dismissing them, but just noticing that they're there and
Right.
not giving them power anymore.
Right.
And then moving into a state of being able to love, you can literally transmit that love into everything around you to the point where, I mean, I wake up in the morning and I go for a walk, or I go to Pilates or something, and I just feel love. Like I don't feel judgment anymore. I don't feel anything except love. And I
Right.
think that's because I've done so much work on unearthing what made me feel shameful and what made me feel that guilt. And in the end, it was mostly a projection, me sending that on to other people. It
Completely.
was hardly ever, except for maybe the PE teacher, like
Right.
he is a he's a one-off.
Right.
But he definitely instilled a little bit of that in me from his own words.
Right.
But from other people, like, why? And I still do this sometimes, like someone will offer me a ride and I'll go, oh my gosh, like, no, that's okay. It's out of your way, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I never said that.
Exactly.
I never said that it was going to be out of my way.
Right.
I'm offering because I literally want your presence
Right.
in my space.
Right.
And if that means giving you a ride somewhere,
Then
I'm
let's
more
do
than
it.
happy to do that.
Right.
And for so long, I couldn't accept that because I wasn't seeing the love that was there. I was seeing the transaction, and I was
Exactly.
seeing the me being a burden and the guilt about
Right.
everything. And so coming back like full circle to your question, I think that when we again allow ourselves to be loved, that's when we can truly accept other people's acts of service for us as
Yes.
love.
Yes.
But it has to come from within.
Exactly. So that, that leads me to the question of, do you think saying yes requires a certain level of vulnerability? And how
100%.
hard was that for you? Because I know
Oh
me
my
being
gosh.
vulnerable was super hard, because I was always told,
Yes.
oh, you're too sensitive. It's too
Yeah.
much. Like, so yeah, how hard was that for you?
Oh, so hard. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my
Yeah.
life is be vulnerable,
Right.
because I truly just wanted to be like everybody else.
Right.
I just wanted to be Heather. And to me, that meant fitting in. That meant not using my visual aids, not using my cane when I needed it, not wearing my sunglasses inside, not asking for help and just giving up instead, and just resigning to the fact that I couldn't do certain
Right.
things. But the reality is, there's not much that I can't do with the right accommodations. Maybe like drive a car, fly a plane, I'm not quite there yet.
Right.
But other things, like, it is not hard to include someone who's different.
Absolutely.
It's really not. And I think something I've also learned is, when we become vulnerable by showing our authentic selves, we really are helping other people.
Absolutely.
Because they get to broaden their mindset and broaden their perspective about things that they may never have thought of before. And so many of my friends have told me that, like, since I've known you and since you vocalize certain things, I now walk into a restaurant and I go, oh my gosh, this color scheme is terrible. Or like, I can't see the menu because it's white on baby blue. Or
Yes.
how would a visually impaired person read this? There's no QR code. There's no PDF. There's no accessibility. And it really warms my heart to know that people aren't just thinking about these things when they're with me, but I have literally planted the seed inside people
Yes.
to where they're now thinking on a broader scale. And again, like, it all came through vulnerability and being authentic, being yourself, whatever that means. Like, I was born this way. I didn't have a choice. God, the higher powers at be, they chose this for me. And I truly used to think that it was a punishment. Like I was being punished
Sure.
for something. Why me? Oh my gosh. Why me? Why me? Why me?
Right.
How many times did I say that to myself? And now, again, I just had someone say this the other day, but if we think back to the first known blind people in history, I actually just finished reading this book called The History of Blindness,
Mm.
and highly, highly recommend it to everybody, not just people who are visually impaired, but
Right.
it goes through the history of how blindness has evolved throughout history and how people have come to adapt with it, and how society has treated these people. And if we think back, a lot of blind people back in the BC and even the early eras of now our centuries, like they were viewed as seers.
Hmm.
So, yes, they couldn't see the world around them, but they could see beyond that.
Right.
And so
It's such a superpower.
yeah, it is.
We talked about this.
And I have really come to embrace that. And no, like I'm not telling people to come to me so I can read your future. Like I'm not claiming that I can do that. I'm sure there are very talented people out there who maybe they can, but I feel like I can, now that I've let go of holding on to this idea that I need to see everything around me, like getting so frustrated. Oh my gosh, I can't see that thing over there. I can't see this thing in front of me that you can see. I now have learned to just lean into that. And when I let go of that and again became vulnerable, I began to realize that I can see things that others can't.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying I can see into another realm, maybe, but
Maybe.
I pay attention to things. So I was thinking about
You
this
just see
morning
things
on
in
my
a
walk.
different way. That's the gift that you're able to
Yes,
give people.
seeing them in a different way, a different perspective, and
Right.
also maybe because the things that I can see are limited, I really focus and hone in on those things, whereas I almost feel like it would be overstimulating to see
Mm,
as 2020 at this point. I don't know that I would want to see everything
mm,
around me because it has really made me very intentional and self-aware with the things that I can see. So I love it at this point. I mean,
right.
I get frustrated. I still get migraines. I still don't enjoy that I have to wear a hat and sunglasses and contacts every time I go outside. You know,
Right.
there
Right.
are things that I still don't 100% appreciate all the time
Mhm.
because they are frustrating. I can't just walk out of my apartment and go do something, but I also do appreciate them in a different way.
Mhm.
I appreciate that I am different and that I'm not just like everybody else. Like how boring would that be to
Right.
be just like everybody else?
No, and I
And I
think what
wouldn't
you
be me.
right, and I think what you said about the vulnerability piece is huge. I think this has been the huge gift of this podcast, which has led me to the book that I'm writing now
Mhm.
and delving more deeply into my writing and more intentionally into it and owning that I'm a writer. And it's been such a gift to hear people say, like, wow, you opening up about that helped me to see this situation that I was in and this
Yes,
trauma that I was going through for what it was, or this relationship that I was struggling with, or just looking at this in a different perspective and saying, wow, you know what, that is kind of magic, and it's
it
not
is.
necessarily something I have to carry as a burden. So I think, yeah, when you start to do that work on yourself and you look at things in a different light, you are able to be vulnerable, but it's also helping other people for sure.
It is. It is. And
What's the hardest part of for you of letting someone else love or care for you without
oof,
reciprocating right away? Um, that's hard.
I think getting through the guilt of it.
Mhm,
I think there's still a part of me that feels guilty
mhm,
for I immediately, and I've begun to check myself, but I immediately offer something back.
mhm.
And I don't just soak in the fact that I'm being provided for or
Right,
I'm being taken care of or that I'm receiving. And I think we are all guilty of that a little bit, like
right.
moving from thing to thing without actually realizing what the thing is that we just did. Like we have our to-do list and we have our calendars and we have our things. And like, I did this check, I did this check. But like, what if you really sat in whatever that gift was to you, whether it was just a word of love or an act of service or anything that you perceive as receiving and giving love? Like, what if you just took a moment and just let it sit and move past the guilt? Like, what would that feel like, to be able to move past the guilt and just sit there? And I'll tell you what it feels like for me is it feels nauseating. Almost like it makes my stomach turn a little bit. And even talking about it right now and thinking back on a few of the instances recently that some people have either said kind words about me and I immediately go, well, you're this too, like, don't forget you. And it's like, why can't you just receive that compliment?
Right.
And it's so serendipitous, the timing of things sometimes. I just had an interview at work yesterday. I was nominated as a leader spotlight in my company for our Impact Week next week. Thank you. And I don't actually lead anyone. I'm not a supervisor. I'm a finance manager, and I see it as my job to help remove barriers within the company so that the programmatic side can achieve the mission.
Right.
And if that means having a Zoom call with someone to show them how to request something on our platform, I'm happy to do that.
Right.
That means getting input from other people so that I can create policies that support rather than hinder. And so I was surprised that I got nominated, and I was on a call with the facilitator. And I said, it's so funny that I'm sitting here, and it was basically asking me to dote on myself. Like, how are you so amazing? And how do you support people? And what is an instance where you've really shined? And then there was the person who nominated me that was on the call as well. And she got to tell stories about what she thought, how I exemplified this leadership. And it was so difficult to sit there and listen to someone praise me without going, oh, well, you're great too. Or, I'm only this way because of you, or all the cliche things that we feel like that are answers to these praises.
Exactly.
And so I was telling them, I said, it's so serendipitous that this interview is happening today, because quite literally tomorrow I'm on my friend's podcast on an episode called Let Me Love You, How to Receive Love. And here I am feeling sick to my stomach on this call that I can't reciprocate anything and I'm having to receive. But what a great practice.
And what perfect timing, right? I think everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And when I used to work in the school system, I worked in the school system in a host of different capacities and teaching and career and college readiness. But when I worked in the high school level, we had this initiative that was brought about by a principal, and it was called the Apple Award. And we had this physical, like, ceramic apple that people would nominate other people for, and then they would have to get up at this staff meeting and kind of explain why they were giving this to someone. And I distinctly remember, like, the person who nominated me, Gino, and how he just praised me. And it's not to say he was lying in any way, because I did do everything in that career and college readiness for the most part by myself. There were guidance counselors, yes, and they did their thing, but I really ran that entire classroom myself. And so to hear it at first was like, yes, it's like a gut punch. It's almost like, oh, I can't. Like, I want to throw up. And then there's hundreds of people looking at you, right? Because we had this huge high school. And so it was just very awkward at first. But then other people coming up to me afterwards and saying the same thing, and throughout the week and the weeks to come, and then coming down and just like saying how much they appreciated what I did for their students. And it was really probably the first time that I was like, oh, wait, I can receive this. And then I remember in turn looking at the situation when I was giving the apple to someone and saying, like, this person didn't even know like what he did for me as a high school coach. I didn't even go to this high school, and we trained at the same park because that's where we trained for track. And I remember him calling my mother and asking her to let me come to that high school because he wanted me on his track team. And the praise that he was giving my mother at that time. And she was just like, nope, don't call here again. She's never going to that school. Leave us alone, you know. But what I said to him was, I thank you for that, but I thank you for also saying, like, continue to train with us. That
Yes.
doesn't make me not want to help you become the best at this because you're not in our school. Like, I still see
Mhm.
you, I still validate what you need and what you want, and you're still a part of us regardless. So yeah, it's hard to accept it and not go, I need to give back right away.
Yes.
I almost felt like I needed to go back into my classroom and do more
Yes. Yes.
because I
And
didn't feel worthy.
100%. And that's something I really struggled with, especially
Mhm.
when I was in school as well, was this notion that, like, oh, if people are accommodating for me, I really got to blow this out of the water. Like,
Right.
I made straight A's. I graduated salutatorian. I got a full ride to college. I did all the things, all the
Yeah.
accolades, all the things on paper. Like, I was amazing, and like it, why? Like, why did I feel?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I do thoroughly enjoy learning. So I do think that a bit of that translates into when you enjoy something, you do it well. And, I just listen
Right.
to
But you feel
teachers,
like
and
you owed it to them
but
to
I felt like
be
I
the best.
owed it to them, and I needed to be the teacher's pet so they could accommodate me, because if I wasn't the teacher's pet and I cracked up with my friends in class like a
Mm.
normal kid, they would go, "Oh my gosh, there's that blind girl cracking up. She doesn't
Mm.
even appreciate the fact that I had to go make copies especially for her."
Right.
And I did. I felt that way for so long, and even up into college, just like having those meetings with my professors, and a part of it was also fear, fear of not being included, and not getting the things that I wanted. And I think there's a fine line between, like, advocating for yourself, but then also being your authentic self. So, like, just because you're asking for something from someone and advocating does
Mhm.
not mean that you have to jeopardize the things that you want, or the way that you treat them.
Right.
It is just simply someone creating an equitable standard for you. And
Right.
we all deserve inclusivity and equitability. And that
Absolutely.
is something that I am just so passionate about, is like evening the playing field for everybody in every type of way.
Mhm.
And whatever that means, whether that's treating someone a certain way, like even friendships, relationships, anybody, like, how do you like to be treated? Like,
Right.
almost like, what is your love language?
Right.
I think that's a source of inclusivity and equitability, is
Absolutely.
asking someone how they like to receive,
Right.
because I can't receive what you're trying to give me if that is not computing in my head as being a way that I receive.
Exactly.
So, like, if someone is making me food, but my love language is words of affirmation,
Mhm.
I'm just going to think, "Oh wow, that was great." Like,
Right.
I
Thanks.
love those
Delicious.
tacos. Thank you, but like,
Yes.
it didn't feel the way that I needed to be recognized. So,
Yeah.
I think whenever we begin to put our wants and needs aside
Mhm.
and stop projecting that onto other people,
Absolutely.
we can then begin to, one, be able to receive what other people are giving us
Mhm.
when they know that about us, and two, give to other people in a way that maybe doesn't deplete us and doesn't make us feel so transactional in
Right.
those relationships.
Right. And I think that leads me to ask you the question of, do you think in our culture that giving and receiving are equally valued?
Hmm. I think that receiving is seen as almost like, what's the word? It's one of the sins, like gluttonous,
Mm.
almost.
Exactly.
It's like, how dare you? How dare
Exactly.
you sit back and receive?
And especially if you're raised in a religion like, Catholics,
Yes,
they love that guilt and they're like, you can't want, you're supposed to live in this
yes,
scarcity mindset because
yes,
that's where you should be comfortable. You shouldn't
yes.
want things.
Yep. And
Yeah.
but when you live in a scarcity mindset, guess what? You create scarcity.
It's
So
always going to
it
be
goes
there.
back to the whole, universe with inside you. You know,
Yeah, putting it out.
whatever you're creating on the inside is what is reflecting on the outside.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
if that is your mindset and you feel that receiving is a source of guilt or gluttonous in any type of way, then guess what? It is, because that's what
Exactly.
you think. But
Exactly.
when you let go of that and you really just see it as just another feeling, like
Hmm.
just noticing it as a feeling and not attributing any type of other word to it. Like,
Right.
I received the end. There is nothing else associated with that. I
Right.
just receive.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, it is okay to just receive and not feel any type of way about it.
Right.
And if you do, then noticing it and then just moving past that.
Right.
Like, oh, wow, I wonder why I feel that way. Maybe I should work on that eventually. But
Right.
just noticing how it feels to receive and not have to immediately jump to that. But I think that, going back to your question, full circle, I don't think that it's as valued as giving. I think that, especially in a capitalist, patriarchal,
Right.
whatever, semi-democratic society,
Yeah. Right.
whatever
Semi is
we live
even a
in at this
stretch.
point, I'm not sure what it
Not
is.
sure what apocalypse we're living in right now, but yeah.
Dystopian society.
Dystopian society. Yeah.
In our society that we are in right now, regardless of what the word is to describe it,
Right.
I think that from a young age, it is instilled in us that you give,
Yeah.
you continue to give.
Right.
And yes, I do think that giving is so important. I mean, it's
Hmm.
how nonprofits
Absolutely.
work. If we didn't volunteer and give, if we didn't donate money and give, if we
Right.
didn't help others, I mean, can you imagine a society where we were all just in our bubble and we never helped anyone? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want a society like that, but I
No.
think that there's so much emphasis on giving that we forget the other part, to
Hmm.
receive. And
Right.
it goes back to the saying of, you can't give from an empty cup.
Right.
And so if you just keep giving and giving and giving, what are you even giving?
Hmm.
Are you depleting yourself? Are you even
Right.
giving anything of value at that point? Or are they empty words? Are they empty acts of service?
Right.
Do they really mean anything?
Exactly.
And so I think something that I've started to pay attention to is, do I feel like I want to give here
Hmm.
because it creates value? And is it something of value? Or do I feel like I'm giving just to give,
Right.
and taking a step back before I do something and really think about that?
Yeah. And recognizing what it is for and
Yes.
what the intention is. And I think that that's a good segue to, like, and I know I have, and I can think of very vivid not intentions, times
Hmm.
that this has happened to me. But have you ever noticed a pattern of resentment or burnout when you're giving and not receiving? And I think I'm that person who, my love language is cooking for people.
Yes.
And my kids very much are, and my kids are all grown, but they're very much, they want that. So when they come and visit, it's, Mom, can you make this specific meal? Mom, can you do this? And I'm all about that. But then I tend to just be running around like a chicken with my
Yep.
head cut off while they're here and not sitting in the moment, and I've
Yes.
had a couple of my kids, when they've come to visit, go, okay, Mom, you made that, you did that. Can I help you with that? Sit down, go enjoy, go sit with the kids, or go take a load off. That, yes, they want that, but then also I'm making it like I've got to do it all
Mm.
and they can't do anything.
Hmm.
And I've just started to give a little bit of that back.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, have you noticed that pattern of burnout or resentment
Yes.
where you're like, I'm depleting myself?
Yeah, it actually happened to me this week. I have cultivated these beautiful, amazing friendships with these women, and I love them so dearly. They make me feel so seen and so appreciated in a way
Mhm.
that I've never experienced from a friendship. I thought that this kind of love could only be experienced in a relationship with,
Mhm.
a love interest or a
Mhm.
partner in that way. And so they are going through a lot. individually, all three of them right now. And I like to be there for them. I like to listen. I take pride in the fact that I'm a good listener. I like to listen, and I will help you find a solution, or you can just vent to me, and that's
Right.
fine too. I don't need to sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, well when I did that, blah blah blah," or
Right.
"Well, here's what I think," and I will give you my opinion if it's elicited, but I don't
Right.
need to be that person. So I I was receiving so many of these calls and these messages, and they were telling me what was happening and the latest updates on things. And eventually one night I was sitting here and I went, I'm so exhausted. I'm so exhausted from just listening. And
Right.
sometimes I think we think of listening as such a passive activity, like, oh, I will be quiet and let that person talk and then I can talk, type thing.
Right.
But when you are truly actively listening to someone, you are really taking in what they are saying.
Absolutely.
And you are, I mean, for me,
Feeling it, you're
I'm
all of it.
feeling it. My
Yes.
empath kicks in and I really feel it, and it can wear me down. And I
Absolutely.
eventually had to vocalize this and say,
It's a
I
lot.
love all of you so much, but I can't continue to receive this many messages. Like,
Right.
I'm happy to talk about it when there is a huge update, but we cannot
The
keep recycling the same
same
information
thing over and over again.
and me continuing to feel it over and over and over again. And part of me felt guilty about that, because
Mm-hmm.
how can I say that when they're living in it every day?
Right.
And so I wanted to absorb some of whatever they were feeling and empathize with them over that, but I was getting burnout. I was
Right.
getting so burnout. And then another instance that happened to me lately is I was burning myself out
Right.
trying to be independent and
Yeah.
trying to do things on my
And
own
do it
without
all. Yeah.
asking for help and without trying to receive. So
Right.
I'm sitting here talking about how to receive, and then I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. I was
We are. We
chopping
are.
an onion the other morning and I sliced my finger.
Yeah, we talked about this.
And
Actually, I think that's the
just
day we had coffee together,
that
right?
was the day we had
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fully healed now. I'm all good. I didn't need
God.
stitches, but there was blood and it
Yeah.
scared me. And I really took a step back and thought, wow, you are being so stubborn. You are being
Mm.
so stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
not receiving the help that someone offered to you to help
Mm-hmm.
you cut your vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and not receiving the gift of a chopper that someone gave you, but
Right.
wanting to use a knife. And this is how everyone else does it, so I want to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I
But
making
also,
things
you were.
harder?
Let's go back a little bit. You were also having a rough day because
Mm.
you were given some new contacts that were
Yes.
probably not what you needed,
Yes, that
and
is
it
true.
only made your vision worse.
It did.
So
So
it started there, and so I don't think it was just
it wasn't
I'm not
just that.
receiving this. It was also, whoa, wait a
Yeah,
minute. This
something's not
is
right.
not good. Something's not right, and I
Yes.
don't like this.
Yes.
And yes.
It did start with that, but it led into me
Yeah.
realizing that, hey, even if that had happened
Mhm.
with my normal contacts and with my vision, or some days I just have bad days. Some days I just wake up
Everyone
and things
does.
are blurrier than others,
Yeah.
or I'm more light sensitive than other days. And just letting someone help me and not
Mhm.
feeling like it's an out
Right.
is
Right.
is that's what I'm trying so hard to move through, is to just receive it and feel nauseous if that's the feeling that it creates within me, and then
Right.
let it pass. And guess what? When you move past that nauseous feeling, it comes up into your heart, and you will literally, in my experience, I feel my heart open.
Right.
It's a practice of letting my heart be open so that I can receive, and not
Right.
having these walls, proverbial walls up that I was talking about, that
Right.
keep people out,
Right.
because I'm only hurting myself when I do
Right.
that.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? Let's be real as well. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to be vocal about anything. I'm a talker. I'm a word person. I love that. I love communicating and I love being able to have conversations. But also, like, if I want to just throw myself on the floor and have a bad day, like as an adult now, I don't care. Like,
Yes.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to do. There have been days where my husband's come in and I'm laying on the yoga mat
Yep.
and I've been in here maybe for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, you're still doing yoga?" I'm like, "No, I'm just laying here."
I'm
Why? Are you just
Shavasa. I'm
laying there? Are you
Shavasa.
okay?
Shavasana for a
Maybe
long
not.
time.
Yes, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm feeling it and I'm just going to lay here and I
Yes.
might cry and I might not cry. I don't know, but
Yes.
let me be and it's okay. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to make it go away. You don't have to know what's going on. I may not even know what's going on,
Mm,
but it is okay. And I talked about that, right?
yeah.
Permission to feel. Like
Permission to feel.
sometimes we just want to feel. I wasn't allowed that opportunity to do that as a
Yes.
child. So when my grandkids are like having these big emotions, I have one who is very feeling and she's very outwardly expression, not like so full of expression that I'm just like, she needs to feel it all and feel all the feelings. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. Don't like stomp that out in her because then you wake up and you're this adult who is like, I don't know how to feel, right? No,
And
feel
I
it.
think you're bringing up something important too, is like this idea of let me love you.
Yes,
What if that's a note to ourselves? You
exactly.
know, let me love you. Like
Right.
Heather, let me love you. Jenny, let me love you. Like
Yes,
why do we have such a hard time showing ourselves love as well?
right.
So
And why can't we pour
receiving,
that much love into ourselves as we
yes.
pour out to everyone
Yes.
else, right? That's filling your own cup. Let's let, not just
Yes.
fill it, let it overflow. Let's
Let
live
it
in the
overflow.
overflow
Yes.
of love
Yes.
and all of it, love and abundance and prosperity and fullness and healing and beauty and not so beautiful and
Yeah. And
all
feeling
of
your
it.
emotions, you know,
Feel
like
it.
allowing yourself to feel whatever you feel, that's a form of receiving. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm here and I'm receiving that I feel like crap today, or I'm here
Yeah,
and I'm receiving that this really upsets me.
right.
And, you know, you don't have to let it control you, but you're receiving whatever that is. You feel it and then you move on. And
Exactly.
I think that, yeah, like what would it feel like if we were receiving our own love and someone else's love? Like, oh my gosh, that cup would be pouring out. And it
Absolutely.
does. Like, I am so filled with so much love and gratitude at this point that I cry almost every day. Like, I
Right.
just, whether it's a text from a girlfriend, like the one I was talking about, or a word or an action from the let me love you person, like, I
Yes.
am just so amazed that when I finally took down those walls,
Hmm.
it didn't feel scary. It felt beautiful. And
Right.
it is just continues to be every day.
Right.
Every day surprises me with how unbelievably beautiful and magical it can be when you open up your heart and you receive.
Yeah. And I think that that's the point. I think that's the point of it all, right? Like, how do you, how would you tell listeners to kind of start building that comfort and in
Mm.
small everyday little practices and being able to receive? Like, what's one little small thing they can do to start that?
Yeah, I think some of the things that we've mentioned already are
Yeah.
great starting points. Like if you want to start with yourself first, that's a great starting point so you don't have to feel if you have issues with feeling vulnerable or you're not
Hmm.
quite there yet, you know, or
Hmm.
you need to work through something with someone, maybe start with yourself
Yeah.
and
I
just
say start
start.
your morning in a space
Yes.
of intention and,
Yes, and gratitude.
intentionality. For me, it's sitting with my insight timer. I don't
Yep.
get out of my bed until I listen to a practice. And it's different every day. Sometimes it
Mhm.
is about self love. Sometimes it is about gratitude.
Yep.
Sometimes it is about getting out of that scarcity mindset and allowing. Sometimes it's just about putting something out to the world
Yes.
because we talked about this at when we had coffee, it's hard to feel grateful and happy when there's so much shit happening in the
It
world.
is.
And
It
it's
is.
so it feels so overwhelming, but also loving and being happy for ourselves, we need to project that out into the world to
Yes.
help heal. So I think starting your day in a space of intentionality
Yes.
and
Yep.
kindness.
And again, like noticing how you feel, not shoving those feelings down and just trooping
Mhm.
forward and, oh, I don't feel anything, I'm fine. I can just
Mhm.
push through my day. And no, if you need to take 5 to 10 minutes, even in the middle of work,
Absolutely.
to just sit with your feelings and feel it in your body, feel
Yeah.
it in your heart, feel it in your mind. Like, maybe journal about these things and get it out of your head so that you can create that space so that you can begin to receive. But if
Right.
you are just stifling everything down all the time and you're not letting it move and you're not creating space, how could you ever receive anything from anybody, even
I am
yourself?
such a firm believer in mental health days. Like,
Yes, me too.
I took those days from work and I probably didn't get on my phone, and
Yep.
I may have just gone out and done something, or I just stayed in bed and I didn't
Yeah.
move. Because when you're dealing with the public and
Yep.
you're putting it all out there and you're giving all of it, you're depleting yourself. And sometimes you just need to stop and say, this is where it starts. It starts with
Hmm.
me, and then I can continue to give, and that overflow is going to be where we all are able to kind of bathe in.
I'll even add on to that. How about
Yeah.
a mental health day where you take off work because you feel so freaking amazing that you can't
Yes.
be bothered with work?
How about that? How about that,
That's a
guys?
form of receiving right
That
there.
is our culture, though, as well, right?
It
Like, look at these
is.
European countries that take
I
siestas,
know.
and they mandate that you go on vacation and feel good, and mandate days where nope, nobody's coming into the office today. Everybody go out and have a good time,
Yep.
or we're taking everybody out and we're going to enjoy something amazing because you guys are working so hard.
Yep.
This culture in the United States is so toxic in that
Yeah.
that we are. And then if you say you're taking a mental health day, oh my
Yes.
God, then the
Oh,
world
what are
is
you,
coming
a
to an end.
baby? You can't
Yeah, and
deal with
or what's
whatever it
wrong with you?
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Do you
right,
need
right,
to
right.
go to the counselor?
Yeah, I
Just,
mean,
yes.
mental health is real, and we need to look at it as not a stigma.
Yes.
Let's just say that. So, right, taking care of ourselves is number one. That's priority number one.
Yes. 100%. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. How do you think receiving love deepens your relationships?
I think that it allows you to fully accept and appreciate the person that you're with.
Right.
So when I am putting up those walls or I'm unable to receive whatever that person is giving, I'm not allowing them to be their authentic self. People, the opposite of, receiving is giving. And so if I am inhibiting someone from being able to give the things that they need from their space of love, I'm not truly showing up in that relationship in the way
Right.
that I should. So I think that if you are unable to receive, you should really, again, like I mean, not to dote on myself, but you should do the work with
Do the work.
yourself first.
Do the
And
work.
then you can finally move into a space where you are able to receive that.
You're
And
only going to be a better partner, a better friend, a better all things, a better
yes,
human when you do the work on yourself first, because you're
yes,
not projecting that out into the world, and you're
exactly.
able to get what you give.
Exactly. And it will come up. I mean,
Mhm.
there are still days when people will offer me a ride or they'll offer to do something for me or
Mhm.
they'll go out of their way to do something and I'm like, "No, no, no." And I have to check myself first of
Right.
all and go,
Right.
"Okay, that's
It's
fine.
okay.
I'm
Yep.
okay with that. They're
Yep.
okay with that. I'm okay with that." But when you come from a space of being with people who have almost backhanded you from that,
Yes.
like they do something nice and then they go, "Oh, well, we had to do that, so we couldn't do this,"
Yeah,
or
they
like
make you feel bad
they
for
make you
being
feel
the person
bad.
you are. Right.
Yes, and those are the people that I don't care for anymore, but
Yeah.
that
Done with those.
that trauma will continue to stick with you for a little
Yes.
bit, and even so now, I will say things like, oh, that's okay. Don't go out of your way, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go, Heather, I offered. I want to do this. When I
Absolutely.
do this, I feel good. Like I
Right.
feel good that I'm helping you and
Right.
I love you and I want to
Right.
help you
And it's
because
coming
I
from a
know
space of love. Right.
you would do the same thing for me.
Absolutely.
And that's where I really have to step back and go, you know what? I sure would. I sure would do
Absolutely.
that for someone else. So who am I to block someone from giving something to me that they want to?
Right.
That's not my
Absolutely.
place. It's
No.
my place to be open and be able to receive whatever someone wants to give me, unless it
Right.
doesn't serve me. And then I have the space to be able to filter that.
Right. Absolutely. Amen. I'm going to say
Amen.
amen to
Hallelujah.
that. What is one? I'm living in a few mantras right now,
Sure.
but if you could just sum it up in one mantra, or if you have multiple, what is a mantra that helps you soften into receiving?
Hmm.
I'll start because I've been saying what I want also wants me, right?
I love
I've
that one.
lived in this space of not accepting what I think I'm deserving of because I didn't feel deserving of it. So what I want also wants me, and I'm worthy of it.
Yes.
I'm worthy.
I love that one. You know, this is a very personal one. And I think you saw this the other day on the Her Sister Circle. And it is not 100% related to receiving, but it is something that is resonating so much within me and does eventually relate to receiving. But for me, the mantra of, and I don't think I've ever heard this before, it was something
Mm,
that came to me the other day, but as the world around me fades, the universe inside me blooms.
mm,
And I just love that so much because it makes
love.
me feel so peaceful with
Mm,
my situation and knowing that I have cultivated this place of being able to receive inside of me. It doesn't
exactly.
matter again what other relationships look like, what the world looks like, what I'm not seeing. I know what I'm feeling and that's
Right.
enough. That's enough for me. I don't
Right.
need to see.
Yes. I love
Mm,
that.
thank
Take
you.
that in, listeners. That's a good one.
And maybe just shut your eyes. Maybe do some of your daily practices with your eyes shut and see what comes up for you and does that help you to be able to receive when you're not comparing yourself to others and comparing
Mhm.
yourself to the world around you. I
Right.
almost think that in a way it has been a gift to not have full vision
Mhm.
and to be able to be this open person that can help guide people to be able to receive
Right.
because if I was fully sighted, who knows? Who
Exactly.
knows? I wouldn't be Heather, that's for sure.
No, you wouldn't be you. And she's beautiful, guys.
Oh, so are
So you
you.
know, inside and out.
Thanks, Jenny.
If you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell them about being loved and cared for?
Ooh, that it is it's okay.
Mm.
It's okay to feel what you're feeling
Mhm.
and you're not wrong.
Mhm.
You are so justified in feeling what you're feeling at that moment.
Mhm.
And you are so worthy of the love that people are trying to give you and you
Mhm.
don't owe anyone anything.
That part.
Yes, that last part. Let's say it again.
Let's say it again.
You don't owe anyone anything and you are perfect just the way you are.
And that's for everyone out there,
That's for
right? We are
everyone.
all worthy. We are all perfect the way that we are. And we don't owe anyone anything. The only person we owe something to is ourselves.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Love that. We're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
don't think we could end any better.
That is it. I don't want to end it any better.
Me
That is
either.
the perfect way to end it. So let's just find a way to reach out to Heather. If anyone's interested in knowing more about Heather, what she does, what she's involved in, all the beautiful, amazing gifts that she is out there giving to the world, drop those socials, Heather. Where can we find you on Instagram? And
Yeah. So my handle right now on Facebook and Instagram is bald, blind, and beautiful. And for those of you who can't see me, I have a
Love.
buzzed haircut. I did.
Love.
We didn't even touch on that. I lost a lot of my hair in my 20s and
Mm-hmm.
have just, again, fully embraced who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the two places I'm on right now is Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, I would love to connect with anyone who has any feedback, any way that this has helped you or touched you, or any
Mm-hmm.
other questions you might have. I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, and if you're in the local community, Heather does a lot of yoga classes
Yes.
and beautiful things in the community. So if you're local to Myrtle Beach or in the South Carolina area, please find her on her socials and she will be able to guide you in some beautiful ways. And I know in the future she's going to be doing more with
Yes.
yoga and,
Lots in the works. I'll
for
just say
those of
that.
us who are differently abled. So
Definitely.
please go find her. I'm so grateful to have you, Heather, and I'm
I'm
so
so
glad that
grateful.
we became friends and that we were able to do this podcast. I definitely think it's going to help people.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yay.
Even
So
one
thank you.
person is enough for me.
What's that?
Even one person is enough for me.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying to you people. Like, get out there and meet people. Like, I have made some amazing connections through this podcast, through this local community. And I'm so grateful that I have done that because it has opened up my life and my heart in a different way. So
Oh, I'm so
thank
happy to
you
hear
all.
that.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening to the All in My Head podcast. I hope you have the best and most beautiful day.